Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. Please be welcome to the EXIN BCS Business Analysis webinar. I would like to make some introductions before we start. So, next slide, please. As you can see in the slide, you are seeing the full EXIN certification portfolio. The EXIN portfolio is divided into security, compliance, and risks, whereby we have programs such as privacy and data protection, information security, business continuity, and so on. Also, we have the domain of Agile principles and culture, whereby we cover the main programs as Agile, Scrum, Version, DevOps, Lean IT, and so on. We also have the tech and mobile safeness that we cover EXIN blockchain, AI, artificial intelligence, TMAP, OpenStack, cloud computing, Internet of Things, and so on. And also we have the domain called Business Intelligence and Processes that we have Cyan Business Analysis, that is the main program that we're going to cover today, but as well as Big Data. So next slide, please. So today we are going to focus on the domain Business Intelligence and Processes, whereby we're going to explore many different perspectives from the EXIN BCS Business Analysis program itself. But we are not going to go in deep in the certification itself, because this webinar is about content. So bear with us that you are going to receive an amazing and outstanding content. Next slide. So for today's agenda, we are going to have the webinar is striving for the BA excellence. That we're going to have someone that is an outstanding performer and that has been developing many aspects from the BA professionals from the UK and other countries as well. And also he's a British Army leadership. So you're going to hear a lot from what he learned from the Army and what can be used together with the BA as well. And followed by this, we're going to have questions and answer sessions. So if you have any question along the webinar that would like to be answered, please just drop your question by using the questions tab, and then I'm going to address your questions in the end of the webinar to guarantee that you are going to have your answer. So I'm expecting many giveaways from this webinar, so bear with us and stick to our content. Next slide, please. So, presenting our today's speaker, today we are with Ian Richards. He's the head of business analysis and people solutions from Capita, and he's also warrant officer in the British Army Reservists. So, Ian, no one is better to introduce yourself than yourself. So, please be my guest and welcome.
Thank you very much, Adamar, and thank you very much, everybody. My name is Ian Richards, as Adamar said, and I'm delighted to be speaking to you today on my favourite subject, which is striving for BA excellence. So I'm currently a Director of Business Analysis at Capita People Solutions, where I work with our resourcing and training teams to provide graduates and more skilled and experienced BAs to the clients. I'm also in my 31st year in the British Army Reserves, where I'm a warrant officer, or a sergeant major, some people call it, which means nobody has to salute me, but they do have to call me sir, which is still quite new to me, and I'm still getting used to it. So my primary role in the British Army is a musician, and I've been lucky enough to play at Sydney Opera House. I've played for Nelson Mandela. I've played for the Queen about 30 times. I've played at the Royal Variety Performance and at the Principality Stadium, which I'll come to a little later. So in addition to my day job, I get involved in many things in the wider BA community. Now there's a long list of things there, but I just want to highlight a few. So this month, I'm judging the United Kingdom IT Industry Awards, which is sponsored by the BCS, which is a first for me, so I'm really excited. I've judged the UK Business Analyst of the Year for the last 2 years. I'm a member of the BCS Leadership Panel for Business Analysis, and I look after the people side of things, so the oral examiners. We have some amazing BAs as oral examiners, and I'm lucky enough to represent them on the leadership panel. I've designed and written and reviewed questions for the International Diploma in Business Analysis, and I'm currently redesigning the syllabus for the BCS Foundation Certificate, and we are modernising it and bringing it in line with the new 4th edition of the book, which Debbie and James, Deborah Paul and James Cadle have written. And I've also reviewed questions, written questions, and I'm a member of the IRM Business Analysis Conference Europe advisory panel, which I really enjoy. So with all that, some of you probably won't think that I've got any spare time, but as I said, I'm in the British Army Reserves. Now, business often has taken the lead from military in its terms and what it does. Let's take the term strategy, for instance. So strategy is a military term. It's about the military imperatives to succeed against the enemy in battle. And then tactics are therefore what you need to do on the battlefield to achieve strategy. That's all come from the army. So they have a mantra, and the British Army have a mantra of be the best. And it's something that I've tried to follow through my life. But I put a different slant on it and say, be the best that you can be. Now, traditionally, the British Army has not been great at leadership, but we've been great with command. So we've been great at giving people orders and pushing them in the right direction and saying, go and do that and shoving them, but we haven't been very good at the leadership. So we realized that in 2002, and we developed the British Army Leadership Code. Now we love a good acronym in the British Army, and we love a good acronym in business analysis. So this is the first comparison straight away. But when we look at the values in the British Army Leadership Code, we have an acronym called CDRILS. So we have courage, discipline, integrity, loyalty, and selfless commitment. Now, some of you may have heard an R in there, and that's something I've just left out because it's respect for others, which is really important. It includes diversity and inclusion. I've just, for time reasons, I've left it out of this presentation, although it is very important. So today, my talk is we're going to delve a little bit deeper into these leadership values. And although we operate in a very different environment as BAs compared to soldiers, I'm going to draw a few parallels and see what we can learn from the British Army Leadership Code to become better BAs. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is courage. And this is about controlling fear, not the lack of fear. There are two types of courage. One is the physical courage, where, as you can see, the soldier in the picture puts a bayonet on and charges the enemy. But there's also a moral courage, and it's the moral courage I'm going to be talking about, which is doing and saying the right thing, not always the easy thing. So it's having the courage to challenge people's thinking. It's not always easy, and it takes a degree of courage, especially if you are young and new in the profession. Now, I always say, to understand where we are going as a profession, we need to understand where we have come from. Now, I've borrowed this from a good friend of mine, Dr. Deborah Paul. You might recognize her for all the books that she's written, and she's a previous chief examiner for the BCS. But I've had her permission. I've used this once or twice, and she's given me the permission. So it talks about the waves, so where we've come from. And the first wave, I still hear BAs talking about it now. They talk about themselves as translators. So they talk business talk, and then they talk technical talk. And I've heard the terms gathering requirements, which is going out of fashion now. But in the early days, we were systems analysts. And we worked at a project level, being given a small scope, and we were asked to gather requirements as scribes and translate them. But then we had some clever BAs, which were moving into business analysis, and we started to challenge. You know, we were quite bright people. We are still very, very bright people. I call us the brainy glue to projects. But they started trusting us. Businesses started trusting us pre-project and with problem solving and feasibility. So working out what's best to put forward as a solution to the business case. And now in some organizations, business analysts are trusted even more, and we're going into the advising phase, which is working at a portfolio level. So looking at programs and projects, working with strategy execution and realizing the value. So the whole holistic part of business we are now involved in. So have a look at this. I love this picture. Now, I took this picture from my phone because it was on the. It's in London and it's in Rochester Row, and I used to walk past it every day. And it used to cheer me up as a business analyst. It used to cheer me up because I used to think, whatever happens today, it can't be as bad as that. So, I don't know who came up with the requirements or what came first, the sign or the visor. I don't know, but something went wrong there, and either it was maybe a lack of challenge or just incompetence. I don't know, but that tickled me, and I always laugh when I walk past there. Okay, so as I said, we were systems analysts before, and when we were doing challenging is the poor perception of systems analysts as a result of an army of diligent and dedicated individuals doing exactly what we were asked to do. Yeah, so now I hope that in most organizations we've moved away from that now, and we are in the advising stage, or at least the kind of middle, early stages. Okay, so I mentioned the Principality Stadium. And I'd normally ask for a show of hands at who's been there, but some of you may have been there, some of you have not. And this is the stadium. It's in Cardiff, and it holds 74,000 people. It's a really intimidating atmosphere, but it's a very special atmosphere. And I'm very Welsh. You can probably tell from my very strong accent, but I watch rugby, and that's my band. If you look right in the middle of the screen, you see red musicians. Now that's my band. And over to the right a bit more, if you go to the edge of the choir and a little bit more, you can see me. I'm the lone figure stood there in front of a microphone, because in 2016, I volunteered to play The Last Post. Now, if nobody's ever heard of The Last Post, it's a solo piece of music to commemorate all those who have died in conflict. So it's a very important piece. And there I was, everybody was going to go silent, and I was going to play 2 pieces of music on my own. And you can see me there. I'm probably thinking at that point, why the hell did I say I would do this? Because it's not the 74,000 crowd or the millions watching it live on TV. This is a close-up of me. I mean, millions watching, all my friends and my family. It's the 30 perfect musicians you have to walk back to if you play a bad note. And it's also how many chins you've got. And now I've just about got away with 2, maybe 3 there. However, I played it well. If I'm hypercritical, it went a little flat on one note, but nobody noticed, only me or another musician. So I would settle for that, considering the pressure that is on me playing that piece of music in that stadium. I'm sure you'll understand. So what did I feel I achieved? So I had stretched my comfort zone. It's a really uncomfortable place there to stand there and everybody look at you playing such an important piece. I'd overcome my insecurities and backed myself. Oh, by the way, there's what I didn't mention is that there's a YouTube. The video is on YouTube. If you wanted to see it, you can take a photo of that and type it into as a URL, and you can actually see it. And the reason I didn't play it is because some people have bandwidth issues and it comes out a bit poor. So if you want to see it, take a photo of it now. I'm going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so I'd overcome my insecurities and backed myself. I said, yes, I'll do it. And I'd shown leadership qualities and stepped out from the ranks. I was a colour sergeant at that point, and if I couldn't ask people in my band to go and do it as a senior rank without doing it myself, then that would be wrong. I had to lead by example. And I'd become the best professional that I could have been. There was no way I was getting that wrong, and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced until I was sick of the piece of music just to get it right. And business analysis could be like that. Why not do some public speaking? Yeah, we always have to present, so why not stretch, learn from that, and I encourage all BAs to stretch themselves and push their boundaries. So in the last 3 years, I've had BAs speak at national events and at European business analysis conferences. It's terrifying. But what about starting small and speaking in the workplace, doing a few knowledge transfer sessions, just pushing your boundaries to see how, push it to the uncomfortable and see how it goes. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? But it's also super shiny on the CV. It stretches individuals, makes them invested in their own profession, and encourages them to go on to bigger and better things. Now, I used to be hopeless at networking. Now, I'm not an introvert, I'm an extrovert, but I still found this difficult. I used to go to conferences and work events and almost dread talking to people. But now I found the courage to go and speak to people. Now I have a fantastic network, and just by putting myself out there, and as I said, I have the courage. I mean, I will say that the BA community, and not just in the UK, it stretches to Europe and beyond. And it's amazing. We are very sharing people, sharing knowledge, and they're really nice people. So don't be afraid to go and stretch out to the wider business analysis community. The second value is discipline. Now, in the British Army, we maintain a high standard of professionalism. Now, again, I would ask, does anybody know why there are creases in the British Army trousers? You always see Army soldiers, they are very, very smart, and they have creases in their trousers. But this is for a reason. And the reason is cleanliness, making sure that we maintain our operational effectiveness. Because if you go back to the First World War and earlier, because the soldiers live and work in difficult conditions, they were prone to lice and disease caused by the lice. So they used to gather in the creases of trousers and they used to lay their eggs, these lice, which would spread disease. And you can often see soldiers, they used to get matches or lighters and they used to run it along the creases of their trousers and you'd hear a popping sound. And that was the eggs of the lice. So the liners in the trousers would be disciplined to say, you know, I'm very clean, I've heat treated my trousers and there's no disease in my clothing. It's the same with short hair. You never see anybody in the British Army with long hair. It's because of lice. It's because we don't want to go down with disease. The reason why we're all clean shaven, you don't see anybody there who's not clean shaven, that is because of the gas mask. We need to have the discipline to put a gas mask on if we need to. Yeah, so in the British Army, we talk about this discipline because we need to maintain our operational effectiveness. It's no good if we are in the sick bay, in the hospital, we need to be out working and being operationally effective. Now, an Australian general once said, the standards that you walk past are those that you are willing to accept. But that should also be applicable to your own standards. You are in charge of managing your own standards. So what do I mean when I say maintaining operational effectiveness as a BA? So let's see what a BA does in a nutshell. And this is, there are many quotations out there, there are many definitions, but this is kind of my bunch of bullet points. And that's we help clients articulate their needs and develop business solutions. We ask the right questions to get the right answers. We break big problems down into smaller, more manageable chunks, and we create clarity from chaos and present it back to the client, and we have a discussion using their business knowledge at what we should do next. So that is your craft. There's more to it than that. There's a lot more depth to it than that, but in a nutshell, that's pretty much what it is. And it's about having the discipline to learn and maintain your craft, your profession. And now in the Army, it's not often desirable to know your craft. It's critical and often a matter of life and death. So luckily, as I've said it before, business analysis is not performed in a theatre of war. But for me, it's about being able to articulate what you can do. So if you asked a solicitor, an accountant, or a doctor to articulate what they do and talk, with authority about their craft, you'd be pretty disappointed if they couldn't do it. And it shouldn't be any different with business analysts. I always say you're a long time sleeping, so buy a good bed. And you're a long time in work, so invest that time to be the best that you can be. I've heard young people say, fake it until you make it. I think they think that's some think that's great, but youth is only an excuse for so long. It then becomes incompetence. So I encourage them to accelerate their learning and grab every resource, the training that they need to accelerate their learning. I ask them what they want to be famous for, and I've always wanted to be famous for knowing my craft, for knowing my stuff. And if anybody if anybody wanted to know something, they'd say, go to Ian, he will know. And I like that. And that's what I work for. So there's lots of ways to work, but we talk about the BCS qualification. Now, as Adamir said, I'm not going to go into detail here, but what I will say is that in these qualifications, there is a discipline. There's a lot of techniques. There's some acronyms. I know CATWO, POPIT, SWOT, MOST, PESTLE. There's a requirements engineering framework, and these are there for a reason. These are there, like the trousers, like cutting your hair short, so that we don't forget and that we do the best for our organizations. And I think as BAs, we are really wealthy to have this well thought out diploma. And so this discipline for me is not just about the learning, it's also about maintaining your skills. Now, I do a lot of interviewing, and I speak to so many people who on their CV, they have the qualification, and then I ask them technical questions because I know these qualifications very, very well, and they struggle. So I say it's important to also maintain your skills and hone your skills. And I say to some people, I say, it might be in the winter, there's raining outside, and I say, why don't you create some energy with your colleagues? Grab your banana, grab your apple, pick up your sandwiches and go and book out a room and hone your skills. Do something like maybe problem solving practice. So get some post-it notes, do an Ishikawa or do the 5 whys, some root cause analysis, and come up with something a bit daft, like the wheel has become illegal, what do we do next? You know, and fix this problem. But then when you become good at it, you can then go to your line management and say, okay, have we got any business problems that we can maybe solve? Because we're pretty good at this now. And you may be wondering, how do we as an organization reduce our attrition rate? Now, if you solve that, your business leaders might then give you an internal award. That'd be worth it, wouldn't it? Recognition, come time to peer review, you get that recognition. I mean, the sky's the limit. You could even come up with something which would be good as a industry award. Yeah, super shiny on the CV. Okay, the third one is integrity. And this is about being honest with your teammates and building trust. It's about having your colleagues back. In the army, you put your life in your colleagues' hands, so you need to have that utmost trust. As a business analyst, it's vitally important to build trust with your stakeholders, because business leaders put their businesses in BA's hands. So we need to be a safe pair of hands. Yeah? And we will be, because you've had the discipline to know your craft and you know it inside out, and this obviously helps with trust. Yeah, if you're being famous for knowing your craft. There's also soft skills. Now I'm going to divert away from the army just for a moment and just tell you a little bit of a story of when I worked on a project for the Ministry of Justice. Now what you can see there is 2 pictures. One is an old Victorian prison in London called Wormwood Scrubs. And the one on the right, I'm sure some of you notice it, it's the Old Bailey, which is the biggest court. I think there's 18 courtrooms in there, and everyone's a murder case nearly. So I'm thinking about soft skills like empathy and honesty. And I remembered I worked for this prisoner escort business, which is moving the prisoners from the prison on the left to the Old Bailey for trial and back again. Now, these places, I mean, Wormwood Scrubs is a horrible place. So if you ever get the chance to break the law, don't bother. It's really horrible. It's the last place you want to end up. But these escorts worked in that environment. It was a depressing environment. And they were paid £18,000 a year, which isn't a lot for London. They were being spat on and abused. They had awful technical support, and they were part of a failing business. And it's never good to be part of a failing business. And they'd had consultants like me come and go, and nothing changed. So that's exactly what happened to me on day 1. I went in and they said, we've seen people like you come and go, nothing changes, I'm not talking to you, I'm not wasting my time talking to you. So I thought, oh, okay. The next day I turned up, and the day after. And I thought, right, I really need to empathize with these people. I need to feel their pain. And I said to them, this was really powerful. I said, if I were you, I wouldn't talk to me either. I just left it there. And then as time went on and they saw me there in the canteen, just sitting there waiting for somebody to talk to me, they'd loosen up a bit and they'd say, because the thing is, it's difficult for us as we drive the vehicle early in the morning. We're expected to sit with the prisoner in the dock and then drive them back. And we don't know what time we're going to get back to our families. And I said to them, what if I could find a way that you could accurately predict to your family when you will get home, would you talk to me? And then gradually I built that trust with them using every soft skill I had. And we got the situation better for them. So it's all about building that trust. And let's not forget, we all got great personalities. Yeah, we've got to let that shine through. I say to our graduates, I say, life is colourful, so why should work be black and white? Let your personality shine through, and don't, it's not about being the stereotypical stuffy business person that everybody thinks they need to be when they come out of college. So let your personality be a tool with which you can build rapport with a client. Now, the fourth value is loyalty. And this is about putting the needs of the business and your teammates above yourself. So the great basketball coach, Phil Jackson, once said, good teams become great ones when members are encouraged to sacrifice the me for the we. And that's all about teamwork. Now, know that you're a master of your craft because you've spent that time. You need to invest in others by coaching and mentoring and sharing your knowledge and building the team. Because that's what you're famous for, right? Knowing your stuff. I mean, it's about not letting people down when the going gets tough. In return, they will do it for you. But that's obviously, there is a code of ethics here. So it's not, if you have bad moral ethics and you're doing the wrong thing, you should not have your colleagues back, because that would show a lack of courage and a lack of integrity, right? So all these things are linked in. All these great values are kind of melted into building a culture. So loyalty is all about helping your colleagues out. And we as humans love to belong. I'm sure that those in the UK have seen the Army campaign of belonging. There's been several TV advertisements out there. And even more so, I guess, when they leave the British Army forces. I mean, this is the same as every army in the world, I'm sure, that they have veteran associations. And more so than if you worked in corporate world, I suppose you have kind of big social events, even when you've left. So BAs in my team, back where I work, volunteer for their time to help with the BCS. Some have written articles, some are helping with conferences. And this is a culture, this is the energy that we've created and I've facilitated for them to get involved. But belonging is enough for some people. You don't have to do public speaking, you don't have to volunteer to do things. You can become a member and volunteer, become a member is enough, because it prevents you from looking inwards. It gives you perspectives and you learn new skills and learn from each other's experience. And you'll no doubt find out that that people in different organizations are facing the same challenges that you are. Now you'll see under the BCS logo, there's something new. And this is quite exciting and hot off the press. It's the Young Business Analysts, and it's not been launched yet. It's being launched at the end of this month at the IRM Business Analysis Conference Europe. And it's free to join for BAs under 35. And the reason why it exists is because we recognized last year that young BAs don't have a lot to put in their CVs and to distinguish them from others. So this is a community which will allow people to do public speaking amongst their peers, write articles, blogs, videos, have competitions sponsored by companies. It's ethical, it's free, it's not for profit, and it's helping young people. So keep an eye out for that. So if you work with young people, if you're a young BA yourself, if you manage young BAs, then look out for this. It'll be on my LinkedIn if you want to join LinkedIn with me. Okay, and the last value here is selfless commitment. Now again, there's an advert, and again, there's a YouTube URL at the bottom. If you do want to see this advert, then take a photo of that and type it in. This is selfless commitment, because this is an advert by a charity in the UK called the British Legion. And it's about the sacrifices the British Army soldiers make. And the slogan is, "They still go," meaning they still go to conflict. So the bullet points are, what they say in this advert is that they are young and they still go. They might not come back and they still go. They may lose friends, they still go. Their mothers, fathers, sons and daughters, they still go. They witness the unimaginable and they still go. Now again, BAs don't work in this environment, but I'm urging BAs to make that commitment to start the journey to becoming the best that they can be. And this doesn't come without sacrifice. It's normally time and money. I'm not saying don't go to the pub, don't socialize, don't go for a beer, and those who like video games, I'm not saying don't do video games. It's about getting the balance between effective learning and development. There are BAs around, and I speak to them while I'm interviewing, who think that experience is the only thing they need. But I feel if you don't marry that with theory and continually improve yourself, then I personally doubt that they're maintaining their operational effectiveness. Some people say that they learn from their line manager, but that's great. But to me, it's a bit of a gamble, because if you don't know that they've invested in their own professionalism, then you could be learning off somebody incompetent who talks a good game. Yeah, I always say there's nothing like walking into a client situation knowing your stuff, because you've taken charge of your own learner journey and you're in charge of your own development. Now, I like this next slide. It's very simple, and I've shamelessly stolen this from somebody called Nigel Rusner. Now, he's an excellent speaker. If you ever get a chance to see Nigel, he's a motivational speaker and he is brilliant. And I've shamelessly stolen this, but it's really effective. Now, what I want is some audience participation. Now, I'm not going to hear you. Nobody's going to hear you, but I'm going to ask you to say aloud what the next word you will see on that screen will be. Okay, so I'm going to count down to 3 and I'm going to change it. And if you don't have to say it very loud, but just say the word aloud. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I wonder how many of you said opportunity is nowhere. When actually the best part of that is opportunity is now here. Or if you're a child, opportunity snow is here. Yay, happy days. So just think about it. Opportunity is now here. And just before I summarize, back in November, before we got locked down, we had a BA Managers Forum. Now that's where all BA managers in the UK and beyond who lead professions, practices in their work come to the BA Managers Forum. And we run this exercise. I took them through the British Army leadership values. I took them through that. 70 BAs worked with us, and we developed the top 5 values for business analysis leadership. Now, the top one was integrity, then teamwork, then empathy, professionalism, and self-improving. What the 2 which missed out was accountability and courage. So this is also on my LinkedIn profile. If you want to see it, there's the report from that. But it's why I showed it is because it's amazing how close this is to that of the British Army leadership and business analysis. So I just want to move on and summarize the last probably half an hour. I know sometimes, there's so many times that organizations don't recognize or value BAs, but that's an old story now. It's old victim mentality. It's everybody's individual responsibility to change this. And if we're all professional and we all know our stuff, then as business analysts, our reputation will grow, and people will be moving from that translation, from requirements gathering up to the advisory part of that wave sooner rather than later. So I encourage you all to reflect on the investment that you've made in your professionalism. Now, it's been a tough couple of months, but maybe say in the last 6 or 12 months, do you think you have done enough? I guess I encourage all business analysts to strive to be the best that you can be, but we need to create that space. So work out the time you have in your life to maintain your own operational effectiveness. Be courageous. Yeah, step out of the crowd and back yourself. Yeah, show some courage and go and do it. And all this doesn't come for free. Yeah, you have to make that sacrifice to be the best BA that you can be. So plan and make the next necessary sacrifices. Make that commitment to yourself, because it's you that's going to benefit from that commitment and sacrifice at the end of the day. Okay, that's all I want to say today. I'm looking forward to your questions. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you found it interesting. I'm going to hand back to Adama now, who's going to maybe ask a few of your questions. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Ian. Yes, I received already many questions, but in case if you'd like to drop your questions yet, please, you still have time to drop your questions over there by using the questions tab, while I'm already asking the questions that I already received. But Ian, I have to say that I was pretty much silly, and then I said also the opportunities are nowhere when I read your slide, and I was the one checking your slides like for many times, and I didn't think about that at all.
It's a good question.
It was really nice. It was really nice. I liked it a lot. But well, let's start with the questions. Are there any techniques or practices that can help people to leave their own comfort zone?
Their own what, sorry?
Are there any techniques or practices that can help people to leave their own comfort zone?
Yes, there are. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for you to do it now, I think. It's a very different experience to talk and to share knowledge to a computer in a room on your own. I much prefer the energy coming from a group in a conference or something, but those days are quite a way off. And although they are terrifying, you can start off small. You don't have to start off big. You know, because the worst thing can happen is if you're going to crash and burn when you start off big, then you're never going to do it anymore. So start off small, just keep pushing the boundaries. In terms of techniques, I always say that if you're in work, if you can encourage there to be a community. Now, there's not a lot of workplaces out there that have a community. So if they haven't, you know, get some like-minded people together and start a community and say we'll have a luncheon room, we'll have a coffee evening, we'll have a Teams forum or something where we can ask questions and have a bit of a clinic. And then you grow because you are sharing your knowledge and you are encouraged by sharing your knowledge. And you then become known for knowing things, you know, having great knowledge. So if you start off small, but try and get people with you on the journey, like-minded people who also want to achieve lots. I mean, some people will just want to go to work, turn up 9, 5 o'clock and go home. And that's fine. But I don't think there'll be anybody on this call who will want to do that because the nature of the fact that they're on this call. So I'm often preaching to the converted.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question. This question is about asking the right questions to your customers or to your audiences. Yeah. They said, well, to ask the right questions sometimes is easier said than done. Do you have any tips to formulate better questions to your customers?
Yeah, so it's always difficult, isn't it? And it's a skill. It's like a detective, isn't it? You're like a detective trying to get the truth. But there's also always that difficulty, especially when you're new, that you want to impress the stakeholder that you're talking to. So, but you have to listen and process the information very quickly before you ask your question. And it's very, very easy to be thinking of your question before you've finished listening to what the stakeholder's saying. And that's a trap that you have to fall into. You have to avoid falling into. So active listening, there are some tools on active listening. I don't know whether EXIN have those. If not, then some on the internet. And there's also You should have a look at the types of questions. I mean, the most important question is why, but it's also the most intrusive question as well, because stakeholders don't like the question why as much, because sometimes they don't have the answers. So you'll start off with open questions that get them talking, but use listening, open questions first, and then close questions. So open questions, so tell me about, and then close questions. So what you're saying is that this is either red or green. Yeah, so clarifying what your assumptions are, or what you're gathering from that conversation. And always, I think it's, especially when you're young, write down what your findings are and then email it to the person you've interviewed, and then say, I think this is my understanding. Can you please check it, because I wouldn't like to waste your time.
Yeah, that's a really nice tip. I use this a lot, I have to say. I have, yeah, definitely I do. Okay, so next question. The BA qualifications, for example, the EXIN BCS certifications for business analysis, would help professionals to create better solutions and solve business issues. How do you see this? That qualifications, certifications are something important for the BA professionals, or the ones that are trying to become a BA professional?
Is the question, so I'm going to play this back, is the question, do I think that the qualifications will help BAs become more professional?
Yes.
Yeah, well, in that case, yes, absolutely. There's as I said, it's the discipline of knowing your craft. And let's say POPIT lets you, it's just a acronym. So people, organization, processes, information, and technology. That is, we make sure that when we have a change, that we examine all of those areas, just to make sure that we've not forgotten any area of the business when we're doing some gap analysis. Yeah, so that is the simple techniques that you learn. And I think, well, I know there's a book out there. I think Paul Turner, James Cadle, and Debbie Paul wrote a book about 99 techniques. So I always say that we are like plumbers. We're like plumbers going into a business situation with a bag of tools. It's just about knowing what that tool is, what it should be applied to. So what business situation should it be applied to, and how we use it. And sometimes it's simple. It's a Boston box. It's a 4x4, or it's an acronym. And these things, if you don't get the knowledge from somewhere, then you're not going to know it, and you're going to be a less rich business analyst as a result.
Thank you very much, Ian. Then I have three questions. One I will leave for the end, because I think it's nice, because we can summarize many of the things. So then the next one, in terms of positioning, what is the difference or even relationship between business analysis, business analytics, and business intelligence? Is there something common between them, or they are completely different domains?
No, I don't think they're different domains. So what do we say? So I always say that, well, you remember we were systems analysts, and then we're business analysts, and then, I mean, some will say on that trajectory there's business architecture. But going back, business analysis was the fastest growing profession in the world. And what happened? It grew big and big and big and big and big. So as kind of business grew more, you had business architecture, data and analytics, service design. You had change management. Lots of different aspects to business analysis, and you can't specialize in every one of them. I often ask in an interview, what shape BA are you? Are you, say, you're a process BA, an Agile BA, a technical BA, or and some say you shouldn't really put them into groups. Some are all-rounders. It's just, I think it's grown so big at a kind of burst, and then you've got all these different professions. Data analytics is one, data intelligence is another. And it's interesting, we talk about data. I often have this conversation with Debbie about the importance of data for business analysts, but some will, the real hardcore data, or the kind of foundations of data, entity relationship diagram, logical data models, class diagrams, UML, all of that stuff, you often find that some people come in from a different direction to do business intelligence, data analytics, who don't really understand the foundations of data. You know, those static models that we use, and they use, I know, data lakes. They do the crunching of data to find out the answer to the question, and I think it's very much related. And I think sometimes you have a hard kind of core BA who does a bit of data analytics. You can have a data analytics person who will do a, who will have the core knowledge of BAs. So they are intrinsically linked. But I do think that sometimes with data analytics, we also need to understand not just the Cognos, not just the Power BI, but we also need to understand how data is structured. And that's a core capability of a business analyst.
Thank you very much, Ian. So then, next question. That is something that you tap into a bit, but now this question is going to relate to this. How do you think that the business analysis role has changed when it is included in a Scrum or Agile team? Like when you are a business professional, then you are working with Agile teams, then some of the responsibilities are shift up, like how this works.
Yeah, so if you read Scrum methodology, there is no role for business analyst, which it was wrong. It was wrong because business analysts are the brainy glue that hangs all together. So we can either get involved up front with the product owner part of it. When you're doing the scrums, you need somebody to solve problems. There are problems going to come out of it. They might need more information, more requirements. So I see a BA as that person around there, around that scrum. And I also then see the BA using it as an advisory person with the executable things coming out for testing. But I quite like the BA role as a proxy product owner because we work with people. A really good product owner would spend most of that person's time with the business because they would be current. The product owners who just spend time in projects lose that currency. They lose their knowledge of how it happens now in business. So they have to have one foot in the business and one small foot in the project team. That doesn't give them enough time to be a really, really good product owner. Plus, they probably haven't learned the skills of articulation of a requirement so that it can be used further down the life cycle into creating code. So that's where the proxy product owner will work with the product owner, and that proxy product owner is a BA, will work with them to articulate, to prioritize, and do all these great business analysis core skills to help create a really effective product backlog. Because what comes after it is only as good as that product backlog. Really important job, and then hopefully the BA will have some time to help out with problems as the scrum goes. So very important part of it. I can't believe it was forgotten from the first edition of Scrum, but yeah, you talk to anybody who knows about Agile, they say that it's an armchair ride if they get a good BA.
Thank you very much, Ian. And the last question that I think is going to summarize many of the things that have been said along the webinar. Which are the most important skills that a BA professional must develop?
Used to be ignored. Soft skills, I think, is really important. I mean, if you look at BCS, they say about the T-shaped business analyst. And that T-shaped business analyst comes with 3 competencies. One is the professional skills. The other one is the kind of softer skills, so communication, etc., stakeholder management. And then you have the domain knowledge. So I can tell you which one's the least important in my mind, and that's the domain knowledge. Because I think the BAs go from project to project to different, like my example, I work for prisoner escort, and then I work for the MOD, and I work in so many different places that I bring a wealth of knowledge and perspective with me to different projects in different domains. So I don't think that the domain knowledge, while it's handy, the domain knowledge isn't as important as the soft skills and the professional skills. I always admire somebody who's got really good grasp of the technical skills, and it's only learning them. You know, you don't have to be a genius to do that. So yeah, have a look at that T-shaped. If you're unfamiliar with the T-shaped, have a look at that. But for me, I think it's the technical skills because they are portable. You can take them, and that's really why SMEs. If you had project managers say the BAs, I don't need a BA because I've got an SME. Now that SME might have been working on the same system for 15 years. They must know everything, but that doesn't make them good BAs. That doesn't make them able to articulate requirements, use models, all the range of skills that a good BA has. It doesn't mean that, you know, and that's why projects fail in my mind, is because they use SMEs who forget to ask the right question to get the right answer because they already know it, or they think they already know it, but they don't widen their perspective. So skills for me, but you can't do it without soft skills. I would have got nowhere in the Old Bailey court if I didn't have any soft skills. I'd still be there now and nobody would talk to me. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. It does, definitely does. So, well, this is the end of the questions and then also the end of the webinar. And I would like to say thank you very much for your lovely presentation. It was a really entertaining content. I liked a lot, and I liked of the questions as well, the dynamics with the group. So thank you very much to be with us, and I hope to see you soon in other opportunities with our webinars.
Great. Thank you very much, Adama. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And thank you for our audience, and then also see you soon during the next webinars. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.